Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you for being with me again today. The article that I would like to discuss today has to do with an Ukrainian deputy minister's claims, very outrageous, I would say, and I would like to analyze those claims, and I would like to also analyze the evidence that this deputy minister provides in order to reach that conclusion. All right, let's see. This article comes from Ukrainska Pravda from June 1st, 2022. And we read here that Russian army mopping up Ukraine, seeing it as a springboard for offensive against Europe. Deputy Minister said that. The Russian army's ruthless destruction of Ukraine's infrastructure could be indicative of Vladimir Putin's desire to use the territory as a springboard for a large offensive against Europe. The source is Hanna Maliar, Deputy Defense Minister of Ukraine. And I'm quoting, there is an assumption that they are destroying civil and social infrastructure because they have no interest in it, because they have plans to use the territory of Ukraine as a springboard to move forward. Most likely, Ukraine is not the final goal. Most likely. I'm waiting for the evidence, okay? And if the entire world does not stop Putin now, he would move from Ukraine to the European world. So let's unpack this, the claims. So this Hanna Maliar, Deputy Defense Minister, should have information and something in her head. Okay, and she says here that what is her evidence? So the Ukraine's there is an assumption. So from the very beginning, she's talking nonsense. There is an assumption that the aliens already visited my house. And why is that? Is because today is cold. Is there any connection? Okay, let's see what she uses as evidence. There's an assumption, which doesn't say anything, that they are destroying civil and social infrastructure. Now, and say because, so they're destroying it because there's no interest in it. Okay, Maliar, Miss Maliar, what if the Russians would have to use that infrastructure to move troops across Ukraine? If you're stupid enough to ask the question, why would they need that? Then I would remind you, I would provide you with two examples to support my claim and destroy your shady assumptions. One, the Germans in 1930s, they built the Autobahn, and that was Adolf Hitler and Alfred Speer, his architect. When the Americans came here, not here, there, in Europe, the Second World War, after the Second World War, Eisenhower traveled those Autobahns built by the Germans, and he was amazed how extraordinary they are and how fast the troops can be sent from one side to another. That was one of the reasons why the Germans built them, for strategic reasons, so they can carry armies quickly. So then what did Eisenhower do when he became the president of the United States? He started Eisenhower highway project or something, interstate project or something like that. And what did they do? They copied Mr. Engineers Alfred Speer's designs of the freeway, Autobahn, the Germans, the Nazi freeway, and they did it in the United States. And there we have it, here in the United States, what the Germans engineered. For the same reason, for the strategic reason, quickly moving troops from one and whatever equipment from one side of the country to the other one. Now, if this would not be necessary, they would not have built them. They would just let flat land and transport it. So since this woman, she has Hanna Maliar, Deputy Defense Minister, she is so ignorant, is so ignorant that she thinks that the Russians don't need the infrastructure because their goal is to pass over Ukraine and go into Europe. Okay, don't they need transportation? So I would not destroy that infrastructure since I'm going to need it. At least the roads. Correct, Mr. Mailar? But I don't expect her to know much. I know, that's just a gut feeling, okay? I don't, and by whatever, however she talks, I already know her level, below 86. I don't know how she got that position, maybe through some positions, if you know what I mean. But nevertheless, I don't know how she looks, but men are, you know, when they have some alcohol, they don't really care about the looks, I guess. Now, that was one thing that I would destroy in her assumption. And the other one is the following. Can you or anybody point to any statement of any crisis in the Russian administration, high level, not, Lebedev or whomever, all crazies like that, who stated ever that their intention is to invade Europe? Yeah, some people say, hey, Emil, but they invaded Ukraine, correct? So then they are not trustworthy. They could invade the next countries. I said, okay, let's discuss that. Why did they invade Ukraine? And then we have to say, we got to take the fairy tales, like Putin is crazy and he wants to conquer the world, okay? But we don't talk about fairy tales here. I refuse to talk nonsense. So he attacked special operation Ukraine because the Ukrainian military attacked the eastern part of its own country, with a majority population Russian, and they were killing them. That was one aspect. All right, is that a valid point to go and defend your connationals? If not, then we go back to the Mexican-American War, or if you want, we can go to Texas. What happened with Texas and Mexico? It belonged to Mexico, correct? They asked for some immigrants. The Americans, the settlers, the Europeans went over there, correct? They settled. And then what happened? The Mexicans started mistreating the immigrants. And then what did the American government do about that? Do you remember? Well, that was one of the reasons why and how Texas became independent. The same reason. Our people are hurt by Mexico. So then a little revolution broke out over there. All right, that's one point. So that's one reason why Russia invaded, to defend its own people. Let's put it plainly, okay? They were attacked by Ukrainian army, illegitimate government, okay, by the Russian standards. That was first. Second one, Ukraine was on its way, or at least they were talking about joining NATO. That was a no-no, all right? That was another one. You say, why? Well, for the same reason why, for instance, you wouldn't like, for instance, having Mexico joining, I don't know, China and Russia in an alliance, correct? Or Cuba. For the same reason. Or you wouldn't like to have nuclear installations, let's say, in Canada directed to the United States, correct? Let's give that example. So for the same reason, it's a security concern. I left alone the promises of NATO from 1991 to 2008. I leave those away, right? Because say, no, we didn't say anything, even though there's documents that show that NATO said we will not move 1 inch eastward with NATO. So these are two reasons why Ukraine is the country and it's not Hungary, Poland, or the Baltic states. Who would be the next step? Or Romania. Okay, there were never anything like this comparable with Ukraine, and none of these countries that would be next. So the argument that because Russia invaded Operation blah 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 Ukraine is the same thing as Russia would invade Poland. For what reason? If we go like for any reasons, then we can look at the United States invading Iraq, correct? Or bombing Yugoslavia or Afghanistan. A reason, you can always find a reason and do it if you're strong enough. You don't have to, justify yourself. That's the advantage of someone who's the strongest in the parking lot. Beats everyone and he does whatever, doesn't have to, I think it was a quote like that, you don't have to justify your actions if you're strong or something like that. I can't remember who said that. So this argument that this deputy minister, defense deputy minister, Hannah, whatever her last name is, M something, she is just below 86 IQ, doesn't know anything about the past, or she's simply a hack. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.